Good evening. Welcome again to Women to Women. I'm Carol Paz, your hostess, and we have a very special lady again tonight, Etta Brown, that I'm going to introduce to you in just a moment. But before we get to Etta and what is shaping up to be a wonderful discussion, let us thank our sponsors, Carpenter Nevada LLC, importer of fine Portuguese olive oils, balsamic vinegar, and international teas, as well as Villa Basque, a deli and cafe, home of Pete's famous Basque chorizo. So, Etta, I'd like to turn with you and welcome you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I just know that you're going to be one of our very fascinating personalities and ladies that have been with us. So, and we want to remind our viewers, especially, that we are here as a support system, not only for Carson City, but for the Northern Nevada area. And these women are the stars of the show. I'm just the moderator. And their life story has spoken to me to the point where I wanted them to have them come on the show. And what they have to share, listen carefully. There are nuggets of wisdom just waiting for you. So, Etta, are you a native Nevadan?
No, I moved here from Southern California.
California girl.
Yes,
okay.
Orange County.
All right, Los Angeles area.
Yes.
All right, and when you were growing up in California, what was California or the area of Los Angeles like?
Much different than it is now. I lived in South Central LA, which is now sort of called a dangerous area. Okay. But at that time, it was not. No, it was a really nice area. A lot of single-family homes. Mm-hmm. Lawns were kept very well. You could walk the streets. I'm saddened by some parts of how LA has turned out to be.
And I think that speaks for a whole body of us, Etta. When we go back to where we grew up as children, lots of cities and lots of neighborhoods have changed for various reasons. I'm sure there are many factors involved here. But when you were a kid, what kind of a family did you come from? Did you have a lot of brothers and sisters? Are you an only child?
I am an only child.
Oh, my word.
So my family is the larger world. I
Yes.
played with all the neighborhood children. I adopted sisters and brothers as I went throughout school, and I do miss that. When you're an only child and growing up young, mm-hmm. you have all the perks and what have you. But as you age, you miss brothers and sisters.
There's a connection there that is made that you really don't call up and call back into play until you are older.
Right.
And I have a son, only child. And he relished it. He was the center of our attention, and the center of a lot of his cousins' attention. Mm-hmm. Got invited here and there, and had some sleepovers with cousins and with really great childhood friends. Now that he's 37 and a parent, he's beginning to wonder, mm-hmm. I don't want to have just one child. I want more. Mm-hmm. Because I'm starting to already miss parents that I've already lost one, he says, and I'm not looking forward to not being able to have my family around.
It becomes lonely.
It becomes lonely.
Yes.
Well, Etta, help us understand, as you were growing up, let's put you in high school. What were some of the activities that you were really interested in? How did you select or be with friends? Was it still mostly family-oriented relatives, or were you kind of stepping out and looking for friends that had interests like you did, and they wanted to talk, they wanted to become involved in activities? What kind of things were you involved with as a teenager?
First of all, I loved the football games. And in my time period, we had what you called sock hops.
Yes.
In the gymnasium.
I'm there
with you.
That
was a lot of fun.
Oh, yes.
And then I really liked accounting, mm-hmm. and I thought when I went to college, mm-hmm. I would pursue that. And the first day of junior college, I had an eye-opener. I was the only woman, an African American, who entered into this room that was all white males. So my dreams of being an accountant were sort of cut. Because I grew up in the 50s and 60s.
Right. So, I'm a product of that time.
So that time period, women didn't think of such careers as much as they do now.
That's
and
right.
Also, the civil rights movement was just coming into being.
Yes.
So I backed out of that, and I went into business administration. So
are you saying, Etta, that the first week or the first few weeks of into this accounting class where you encountered all males, mm-hmm. not one female, and they were all white.
Mm-hmm.
Did it take one day? Did it take a week? Or did it take several weeks for you to make up your mind?
Took about, well, the first day was the eye opener. So I had to be strong enough to go. And keep in mind, I'm young.
Yes.
I had not
yes.
had experience to
Right.
stand up for my rights yet.
That's right.
Took about a week because I was more or less shunned and not brought in. Not that you need to be really a part of an accounting class, but you do want to have some rapport with your teacher and with your fellow students.
Yes.
So I found it difficult.
And we look today, we look back on that, those of us who grew up in that period, and I was born in 1943, so you're very much a part of my generation and part of, we share the same experiences in many ways. And it never occurred to me, growing up in a small town, and it was all WASP, okay, but when I went to Ohio State, I couldn't wait to meet new people from new neighborhoods, from new cities, and I considered it such a privilege to be able to know anyone who could help me.
Right.
Who could help me with some of my studies. So, and we've come a long ways, but our children and our grandchildren didn't go through those days, didn't experience them.
No.
So it really is it's a powerful piece of history that you and I lived in.
That's true. Women's rights and civil rights.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, so you went on into business. Now,
Right.
what do you mean by that?
I went on to pursue a degree in business, and I did not finish that. I met my husband. He was a football player. And remember, I liked football.
Yes, you did.
So I fell for him. We've been married over 50 years now.
Wonderful.
Which is a long time.
Wonderful.
And we have 4 children and 6 grandchildren. And my daughters had a different life to face when they were ready to go to college.
Help us understand that.
My daughters could choose whatever they want. And with my encouragement, I told them, as long as you're willing to work and make the sacrifice for what you want to be in life, you can be anything you want to be. So one of my daughters is an attorney, and she does international law. And my other daughter is in healthcare, and she's a director for a California healthcare servicing group.
All right.
And my other daughter is in San Francisco. She's still in school, San Francisco State. And my son, who is the elder one, has 4 children, and he's a truck driver, and he's very real. So
he's
not
on the
that
road.
the others aren't, but you know what you choose to do in life is what you need to enjoy.
Yes.
And there's a beauty and a elevation in everything you do. So that was his choice.
I have to ask you, with your husband having been a football player, because there's a lot of discipline involved and a lot of sportsmanship, competition, relationships. How has that contributed? I'm sure it has in a mighty way, but tell us, how has his experience in football contributed to being a unique father, a unique unifier with all of his children?
A disciplinarian.
Yes.
He went to an all-boys Catholic school, Mount Carmel, and he more or less set a standard for the children. One thing we both would not tolerate is that you lied to us, or you brought something home, you told us you found it.
Yes.
I didn't believe that. So we had around our table at dinner, we always ate dinner together no matter what, even when we were both working. It was political. It was, what did you do today? And as they grew, we still have the table that we sat around when the children were 2 or 3 years old. Yes, it's in my dining room now.
Yeah.
And there's so many fun memories. They grew up around that table. And I think that's so important to families now, is that they have that unity that table can bring by eating a meal together, no matter how busy you are, even if you have to choose one day to do that, that you unite your family that way.
And you know, Joetta, as you're speaking, I'm going back in my memory as a child, and it was a plain old yellow kitchen table. It was nothing fancy, but it could be spread apart, made for more spaces, more chairs to be brought up. And when I think about the times that we spent as a family, aunts and uncles who would stop in, have a cup of coffee, a piece of pie, those were comforting moments to me as a child, because I saw harmony in the family.
Right.
I saw respect, listening to each other's points of view. And we were taught, maybe the word is a wrong word, tolerated, but kids are not always invited to be there when the adults are talking.
Correct.
And they never ask us to leave. But I always remember that as long as we were there, my mother and my father pretty much insisted that the conversation be at a level that there was nothing that children could not hear.
Right.
So today, like you, sitting around that table, raising the next generation to appreciate a table and chairs in the kitchen, takes effort. It takes effort because there are so many things pulling at us as families to separate us at that time of the day.
Too much TV.
Yes. How did you work with television, and how did you work with interruptions, phone calls, cell phones? Did they exist?
Well, we didn't use cell phones that much, but with television, you only got to watch it as a child after you had completed your homework.
Good girl.
And then after that, you probably got only half hour. And then you got ready for bed because it was time to get up in the morning and go back to school.
And we functioned really well with that framework.
Yes.
It made sense, it worked, and it kept harmony.
Yes.
It kept values, and it kept a sense of focus.
Right.
What are the important things that we're taking care of here? What are the important things that we're getting ready for tomorrow for school? Responsibility. And I just can't wait to come back to the second half with you, because I know that you said something, that you taught your children, whatever they want to be prepared to work for it. And
Correct.
You can be whatever you want to do.
Correct.
Okay. I want to know where that took you. Raising 4 children, paying for 4 children, being responsible for education of 4 children is no small thing.
No, it is not.
And we want to know more about that when we come back. So don't go far away. We'll be right back with Etta Brown. Take care.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Frederick, founder and executive director of Pets of the Homeless.
Pets of the Homeless is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization that provides pet food and veterinary care to the homeless and less fortunate in local communities.
We're a national organization with over 200 collection sites across the United States, one in Australia and a few in Canada. Our national organization, since 2008, we've collected almost 50 tons of pet food that has been distributed through various organizations across the country, like food banks, homeless shelters, and soup dining rooms. With donations from the public, we are able to provide these kinds of wellness clinics across the country. Since 2008, our wellness clinics have provided over 2,500 animals with shots and medical care.
I'm Dr. Woody Allen. I'm a semi-retired veterinarian in Carson City, and I have worked with the Pets of the Homeless for about 4 or 5 years now. And when Genevieve Frederick started the program, our hospital was the first hospital to help her with collecting dog food and finding people that needed our help. On this website, you'll be able to find sources where you can get food on a regular basis if you need it.
With donations from the public, we're able to provide homeless shelters with crates, bowls, cleaning materials, so that homeless with pets can come into homeless shelters and get the services that they need to get out of homelessness.
If you are in need of food, supplies, or services for your pet, or would like to donate or volunteer, visit petsofthehomeless.org.
Are you looking for a healthier lifestyle? A more nutritious diet? Do you care about quality? If your answer is yes, or if you are just curious, come into Villa Basque Deli and Cafe right here in Carson City, Nevada. Discover fine Portuguese extra virgin olive oils, vintage balsamic vinegars, and a wide assortment of international health teas provided by distributor Carpa Nevada LLC. In addition to these terrific items, Villa Basque is also the home of Pete's famous Basque chorizo, handmade on the premises from Pete's secret family recipe. Satisfy your culinary curiosities. Don't delay.
When a disaster strikes our region, will you be ready? Learn about sheltering in place. Since each emergency is different, Make sure you plan for alternate routes away from your neighborhood. Plan meeting places and long-distance phone numbers if you are separated. Assemble food, water, medicines for at least 3 days, and a portable radio to stay informed. Remember, make a plan, assemble a kit, stay informed, be ready. For more information, contact your local emergency manager.
How was school today?
Cool, we learned what to do in case there's an emergency.
Oh, will you show me?
If there is an earthquake, then you get under your desk, duck, cover, and hold. And when the shaking stops,
we evacuate the school just like a fire drill.
I'm glad you both know what to do in case of an emergency, but I'd still be worried.
Check the phone, radio, or TV, and they'll tell you what to do.
Make a plan.
Assemble a kit.
Stay informed.
And be ready.
Welcome back to the second half of Women to Women. We're talking with Joetta Brown, who I can't wait to find out. She's a lady of intent. She's a lady of focus. And she's a lady who grew up in the generation that I did and has gone through the civil rights movement, has made sure that her children understood and understand today with her grandchildren that we can be anything we want to be, regardless of circumstances, regardless of age. If we want it bad enough and we have those abilities, which we do, let's go for them. We can. So Joetta, help us understand now. You have a natural ability with math and numbers.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you decided to say, you know, this accounting class is not for me yet,
right.
I'm going to go into business. Bring us from the time, what business did you enter? Did you participate in? And where did you go with that?
I didn't go to work until the children were out of elementary school almost, getting ready to go in high school.
Okay.
And the reason I went to work is we had purchased a new home. And it was a beautiful model home, but when we got into ours, it had no drapes. It didn't have, you know how they are, the new homes. So I decided I would try. I saw in the newspaper an advertisement for a part-time teller at American Savings Bank in Lakewood, California. And so while my husband and 2 of my children were having lunch, I told them I would meet them. I had an errand to make, and I went and filled out an application, and on the spot, I was hired. That was the beginning of a career rather than a part-time job. I worked for American Savings Bank 30 years, and the last 10 years was the job of a dream or a lifetime because I did community outreach and urban development, and I learned a lot. I worked in the city of Los Angeles. I did affordable housing, and I had the honor of being the education chair for the American Dream Coalition, which was for affordable housing. I always believed that home ownership is the foundation of our country and that everybody should have that opportunity if they can afford to have a home to be in one. It makes a difference. It's the nucleus of what we stand for as Americans. And that dream has somehow turned into sort of a nightmare in some parts of our country, even Nevada, because we read about our home ownership, the foreclosures. At that time period, we would never foreclosed on homes because it didn't do us any good as a bank. We wanted a performing loan. We wanted you to pay back your loan so we could lend out more money. But things have changed. Remember, that was 30 years ago. But I do know, because we have tracked some of our loans that we gave at that time period, they are still performing loans. There are people, if you give them the right opportunity and you have the right borrower that will pay the rent or pay the house note before they put food on the table. It's that important to them. So when you see some depressed areas in cities throughout our country, it's because it is not home ownership, it is a rental. And there's a different mindset to someone who is renting for someone than owning that piece of property. So I put all my efforts into that. And I climbed that corporate ladder. But it's really important, this point, climbing that corporate ladder for a woman. I left no dead bodies. I climbed my ladder on my abilities, my hard work, and my vision for what I thought I could do. And when the opportunity came for me to move a little higher, I took that opportunity. And I had a wonderful mentor in banking, who one day hoped that she would be a regional at American Savings. So she gave me the little insights to make me that polished banker.
And this was a female mentor?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
she was.
Do you think it would have made did she help make the difference by being female rather than male? You think?
I had male help and male
Okay.
because I was admired for my hard
Abilities.
work, my abilities, my vision.
Yes.
At the time we started the community outreach department, it was a vision. What are we going to do in the community? After all, most corporations want to look like good corporate citizens.
Yes, yes.
So we started to find nonprofits that we could give money to or support. And we did that, and it made a big difference. We looked at education, we put computers in schools, we even painted schools in depressed areas, because by then South Central and East LA had become depressed through no fault of people that lived there, actually, but it just became an accepted way of life. It's like you're in this box and I don't have a way out. And that's what hurts.
But you're the antithesis of that, Joetta. In other words, you saw a situation early on in life as you started to enter college in that accounting class. And you said, you know, there are other ways around this. There are other ways to think about and tackle. I know I like math. I know I'm good with numbers. I know I have a lot to give from myself to others and in institutions. And I think that's a key. Recognizing that if there's a door shut here, I'll find another door that's open.
Correct.
Okay, and it takes, and you had that belief. You had those credentials inside of you that you believed in. And you had a family who also believed in you very much as a young woman. And I'm sure that if we could go back in time and say, okay, to our children, I want you to step back with me into my home when I was growing up. What a neat experience that would be, and they would see differences, and they would feel differences, and they would talk about differences. But that opportunity is not really there in reality, but it's there in our teaching the next generation, sharing the oral history of our time, bringing it into their time and saying, you know, these conditions exist everywhere in the world. And we exist everywhere in the world. And if we're going to let circumstances get us down and we believe ourselves victims, it's hard to get out of that mindset.
It is.
And you're the antithesis of that. I really admire that.
Thank you.
I really admire that.
Thank you.
All right, so where are we today? I know that in our conversations prior to the program that you ran for Assemblywoman.
I did.
Okay, was that in California?
No, here in Nevada,
All
Douglas County, where my numbers were really very strange. 2-1. I was outnumbered. I'm the Democrat. And again, I must have something with the white male thing because I had a lot of nerve to do what I did.
Oh, yes.
But my reason for doing it was to give
Why?
to give the Democrats a voice
Okay.
in a very strong conservative Republican community,
All right.
which is a good community. I love Douglas County. I'm glad I retired. But I wanted to have that place at the table when there were debates to
Yes.
talk about
Yes.
what the vision of the Democrats were and what the vision of the Republicans were and then the independents. And it made a huge difference. We were in the process of growing the party. And it wasn't just me alone that helped to grow the party. When we came to Douglas County, there were about 4,000 registered Democrats. Today, there's almost 9,000, over 9,000.
More
So
than
we did a
double.
lot of registration, voter registration, which is very, very important.
Yes, it is.
And we did a lot of out in the community talking about and getting involved in our community. I mean, Democrat or Republican, water is an issue for both of us.
Yes, yes. And I'm not sure, it seems to me, I mean, I remember sitting around a table at home where my father was staunch Republican, my mother staunch Democrat, okay? And I take a look today, have those parties changed so drastically that and you're a bridge here, because we need to be able to sit down and say, okay, what is going to benefit us as a nation?
Collectively, yes.
Collectively, okay?
Yes.
We the people, that begins the preamble, that one sentence, that introduction to the Constitution. You and I and all the people in this country who are citizens, we are the employer
Yes.
of our elected officials.
Correct.
And sometimes I think we've forgotten that, and they've forgotten that.
Even if you don't vote for an elected official, their charge is to represent you.
Yes.
And your best interest as a taxpayer and a member of the community from which they came. And compromise and debate that is civil is missing in our society to a great degree.
And you know what I think else could be missing, Joetta? Do you remember when we went to school that, or when we were in college, but we were brought up that there is a supreme law of the land in terms of government, and that is our Constitution.
Yes.
And I really don't know how many of us, including myself, have gone back and reread that document so that we know, okay, who is in charge? Okay, there are three branches, we know that. And yet, when we go down the articles, and we need to be reminded as citizens, as common citizens of this country, who's in charge of what? And can they do that? Because without respect for that document and for the Declaration of Independence, we lose ourselves. We get lost as citizens of the nation.
That's correct.
And you and I are American citizens. I want for you, and I want for myself, I want for your family, and I want for my family. What is the best that we can do for all of us and for each other?
And we basically want the same
Yeah,
thing,
and
that's
talk
where we
about it.
lost.
Yes, let's
We've
talk
lost,
about it.
right? Because we've put something in the middle of our conversation.
What's in
that
the
is
middle,
still-
do you think?
I think the middle is I need to win. I need you to believe the way I believe.
And
but
isn't
we
that
don't have
human
to.
nature?
That, of course,
Yes.
that's human nature.
Yes.
Of course it is. But when it comes to decision making in a body of government, of elected people, that needs to be there, but set aside so that we can make good decisions. And until it is, the debate goes on and on and on, and nothing is accomplished.
And I agree with you on this, Joetta. And I think what I hear you saying is we need to have an educated electorate.
Yes.
And we need to go back to those founding fathers' ideals and not allow someone to take those ideals and those thinkings that they left expansive enough for us to work with in the future and distort them or pull them to our side or pull them to the other side. Come on, people. We are all citizens.
Too much at
Yes.
stake. Much
Yes.
too much at stake.
Yes.
What has been my guiding light, along with my children and my own family? When I was in high school, there was a young man named Al Baru, and he did not have to make the choice that he did. He went to Mississippi to register voters, and he was killed there, along with 2 other young men. Much of what I do in politics and all the changes I would like to see in communities, when I had that power and money at the bank, I do in his memory. Because I didn't go, but he went.
He did.
And the least I can do is work as hard as I can in his memory to make that difference.
And what you're saying is those who go to defend our country, regardless of their last name, of their skin color, of their family background, they are doing what allows us to stay back here and live in safety. So I'm with you, and I want to say thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's been a joy.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, and we'll see you next week with a very special lady. Remember, don't hesitate to write us on any issue you'd like to have brought up, any question answered, okay? We'll do our very best. See you next week.